Okay, so I want to make this video. A lot of people have been asking me like what I've been doing after that last time lapse drawing that I did for fun. That was actually a really old drawing I did a few years ago. So now I wanted something to do to kind of break up the not the monotony. This isn't monotonous, but like what I'm doing now because this is a lot of work. This is actually a logo that I am doing for a client in Alaska. Anchorage, I believe, but I'm not positive. These mountains back here, it's a mountain. I'm actually not going to show you the whole logo because it's not finished. So if I zoom out to look at it at any point in this video, ignore me. But I will check with the client to see if they're okay with me posting this before you get to see it. But I wanted to talk about I wanted to show kind of my process. This is all my drawing. Everything you see. Oh, my levels are a bloody mess. I usually tend to fix those all at the very end. But you see here, it's a medical clinic that we're doing the logo for. So I want to show you just like one step of the process. We have the stethoscope right here. If I can highlight it. And it doesn't look, it looks good and I'm liking it, but I need to add a shadow. So I've done that recently on this side, and I'm not exactly sure I like how it looks so far, but I've got that, and I want to kind of just talk about how I do that, or how it's done for people that care. If you don't care, stop watching. Let's see. So what I do, or I'll start from the very beginning. I'll just ignore this right here. This is my stethoscope. This is the actual object that I've spent time drawing. Every single thing you see is its own piece. If you don't know Illustrator, these are objects that you draw out using the pen tool, this object right here. And you can draw it on curve, you can draw on straight lines, but you adjust it based on, I don't know, I guess it's math. And then you can come back in later, you can choose this, you come back in later, and you move it around. And it follows this path. And what's great is that it's a vector. And if you don't know what vector is, no matter how close I zoom in on this, it stays exactly that because it's math. I love saying that because I have no idea exactly how it works, but the computer understands the curvature of the line, and it stays clear. There's no pixels. There's literally no pixels at all. So when you see a poster that looks blurry and not right, that's because somebody used a raster image. And rasters are the pixels, the little jumps that you see. But vectors are for drawing things like this that we want to be able to blow up and zoom out, and it looks the same. So I draw everything by hand using vector shapes. I have never really used lines. It's always shapes. I always make a big fat thing so I can adjust the width and depth of everything. So if I don't like the depth, I zoom in. And this is why I say it is the unending clicky because I tend to be a little neurotic, a little anal about how everything looks and how good everything looks. Normally I would like fix this curve right here, but right now for that, I'm not going to bother it with you. This is a rubber hose of a stethoscope, so a little bit of leeway is okay for me, but I spend a lot of time. I'll go in and I'll adjust and I'll zoom back out and I'll look and how's that look, and clicky, lots of clicky. Okay, so I have my stethoscope here, and what I do is I'll go down and I'll make a copy of it, right? And then I have a copy and I put it under, and then I put it underneath, not inside, but underneath it, and that's what I've done here. So I can delete that, oh, delete that whole layer because I've already done it right here, and then that essentially gives me, well, I'll just start. It's easier just to start from the beginning. So I put it underneath, and then I go in, and it's the exact same, like these groups are, they're massive. There's a lot inside to be able to create it. But all I'm working with today for you is this part, because this part already has the shadow. So I am going to move that. I'm going to remove everything else. I'll take this and delete all of that. So then in this copy group, I only have this. So what I'll do is you have all of these pieces selected. I don't need that. And you go up to Pathfinder and unite everything. So now it doesn't show it because this is actually under this. So this is the stethoscope on top. But if you don't see that anymore, now you see this one piece. And it's going to be a shadow, so I don't really need all these anchor points. And I go up to, oh, I'm not recording it. I'm sorry. You go up to Object on Photoshop, and then Path, you can see now, and Simplify. And you use the slider to just, doesn't simplify it at all. It puts on like 3 points. I like to be able to show a little bit of that, so I'm gonna simplify it a little bit, but give it a little bit, that's where it used to be. And that's where I want it. Click out, and that's what you got. So, to show the stethoscope again, now that all those things, if you saw before, was all these different pieces, is now one piece. It's only just this one piece. And if I click it and I go left, I use my keys to bring it left just so I could just, let's see, do that, and then move that, and then go back, and then you have it. If you want to isolate something like this and work with just that, you double click it, you click the selection tool here, D, and double click, and then it isolates it. And no matter what you're doing, you can only work with this now. So you click up an A, which is the direct selection, so you can select pieces, and that's when you can mess with. It's complicated sometimes because this is why I have a tablet, because then grabbing these things can be difficult. So if you're not in direct selection, which I don't use it all that often, you're up here and I'm trying to grab this thing, I have this issue back here, right? I click this and then all of a sudden I'm moving that, and that's obnoxious. One other option is locking that, but then you still, what are you going to lock, what are you going to unlock? So what I do, I'm learning to do, doing a little bit better, is direct selection, and then going to have wire problems. Not direct selection, sorry, isolation. And then direct select tool. And so since how you look at it, the raven's body curves down like this. And you'll see it in what I did in the last one. You see, or in this side, you see how the shadow goes down this way. So instead of it sitting behind here, I want to get it the same color. Instead of it sitting behind here like this and just coming straight off, we need to curve it down. So I isolate, direct select, and then I can select these things. Which normally, if I'm not in isolation, you try to, it's gonna choose a lot of stuff. And everything else back here is locked. If this wasn't locked and the mountain wasn't locked, and I tried to do that again, instead of selecting something, I'm moving it, and that's ridiculous. So I go to direct select or isolation. See, I don't even have the terms down yet. And then I select just those paths. And you can see that they're selected just by how dark they are instead of white right here. See, they're not selected. And I move that. All right. The problem is because this one isn't selected and this one isn't selected, it stays where it was. And that's kind of the shape that I want. But because these are still here, I have to go in and readjust how everybody's looking or how everybody works together. And I come back and how did everything fit? And I have to figure out why the hell that's doing that down there. Oh, see, so it's essentially twisted right here. So you take this piece, and that goes there, and that piece goes there, and this, you deal with that, and now it's untwisted. So there's no actual point right here, and I can add another one by selecting the pen tool again, and clicking on the path, and then there it is. If a lot of these terms are new for you, you don't know, you don't really care, that's fine. If you have any questions, ask somebody else. Sure. So then that's kind of where I want it, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, it will take more time for me to fix it. And I go out and then see how it's there, and what is this on? So I select what this was, and I could have sworn I had changed the opacity, right? So I click this, and I look at this, and the opacity should be different, but sometimes with Illustrator, it doesn't act like it should. It doesn't do, right? So see, there's the opacity change, which is what I did here, but why it doesn't fully... It should be... Oh, see, this is here, and I can click this, and I can delete that because I'm not using that anymore. And I'm not even actually sure what that is. But see, you can tell by the icon right here, it's what this is. But again, it doesn't show, it shows opacity at 100%, but it's not. And that's actually kind of confusing to me. It's not something I've ever fully figured out. I click through. See there, okay, so when you make a selection, when you make a new path, if you're clicked up here, it's specific things. The opacity for that is 100%. But what I did is I clicked all of it, this, and that other thing, and I changed the opacity there to 45%. And I'm not sure what that is, but I'm gonna deal with that later. And that's probably best to just, it's gonna be just this thing, the fact that this is in its own group now, right? That's selected, that's 100%, but if the whole thing is selected, if I select the whole thing, come on. It shouldn't say, see, this is, again, why sometimes, like why I'm not selecting this. I can select this, and I can select that, but why can't I select this anymore? So I put this back in the group, and there, it's at 45%. So here, it's the same thing. I'm selecting this, not that. That's 100%, but this piece is 45. I can't tell you. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why it does that. So here, back down to 45%. And it gives you a pretty good, I think at this point I'll speed it up so you can kind of see the time it takes me to go through and edit this correctly. Okay. Yeah, and for now, I think that is gonna work for me. Um, I'll do a little bit more. There's more than just like I have this whole shadow and how it intersects with each piece of the shadows here. The shadows on the birds, the feathers, and how it interacts here, and like little spaces like this. All of that I try to take into account. Composition, and I have weird stuff down here like what is this, and you have to go into bird, and because this is on top now and this makes it difficult to select, I can either lock the layer so then I can't, right? And then so now I have this and readjust that so it's there and it looks right and everybody is playing nice together. If anything, I'll probably just move this up so that little piece goes goes away and you don't see it. And that kind of stuff draws the eye. Um, so if you're making something and you're creating, like, you see how much action is going on right here. The less you have this, like if this kind of thing was sticking out right here, even on a little bit, it's gonna focus your eye here. So you want to have that's okay if that's a spot that you want fits compositionally. And I'm not gonna go into composition right now because I don't want to show the whole piece just yet, even though I did earlier. But like, it's good to take into account and really like think about, is this all looking okay? And I might take another way too much time. Like this is too close to for me now, since the shadow is here and that's here, and then I move it over here, but then that is here and that is here, and I adjust it here. Um, I think a lot of times a lot of people will say like not all of this is necessary, and either a client won't see it or a client won't care, or um, it's the type of thing that only I'll see. But that's why I'm, you know, it's a process. Making sure it looks good, making sure the eye falls in the correct spot. Um, yeah. So here, I'll do a little bit more. So I have this piece right here, and I'll show you, I have that shadow, and hopefully that'll look good. I'll zoom out and check it a bunch. And once you have this selected, you come down here and you see it right here. It's in this group. So there's all this other stuff, and there's these two groups. That's this, and that's this other piece. But I want to deal with this alone, but it depends on where it is, like what's in, because everybody's in front of other people, other pieces. I don't know. They're all sentient. So since it's at the top here, it's going to be in front of everything. But if it's down here, it's behind all these other pieces. And what I want is I want to make that have a shadow as well. So again, I copy that and take the piece on top and I cut it, just so I don't have to deal with the lines fitting together on it. Or you can do a lot of different stuff with Pathfinder, and you can like make a shape and then cut it out and cut out the pieces that don't fit that, and this and that and this and that. And I'm kind of slow doing that. It takes a little bit of time. So I have two pieces right here that are the same thing, and I take one and I cut it, and then I should delete one side, and then now there's one that's the whole thing, and then another piece right here. And let's say it can be, that's a little too dark, so maybe there, right? And it's usually best to get it to fall, and this is where it's fun. Um, and like, why don't I cut it? Let's see. So we go back, and why don't I cut it specifically? You can see how the cut tool sometimes doesn't really like me. I think that has to do with my computer, and if I had a higher GPU or a stronger GPU or whatever, it would do better. So I delete that side, and now I have one that's a hole, and then one that's on top. Where is that? One that's on top that's cut, and then this is the whole thing. so the thing on top, and I take my eyedropper tool, and I go, let's try this color. Which technically, that should be that color. And, because I changed the colors later. But see, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of fades into this right here. So maybe, depends on whether or not I want to have a bunch of different colors. But this is the backside, so if it stands out, or the part that sits up, so if it stands out a little bit, that's okay. But I'll keep checking, and I'll keep going through that, and I'll keep looking. And this kind of does fade right here, so it's not really I think it's okay if it sits like that. The only problem is that those two pieces. But then, on top of that, there's a shadow here, and a shadow here, and a shadow here, so I'll actually even go even further and make it again, put it on top of both of them, and then cut it here, and then remove this piece, and then now this piece needs to be even darker, but so it shines through. You can get both of them there. And again, that's my process, playing with making it look right. And that's a little dark, so instead of even changing the color, I can just change the opacity. And that hopefully falls in line a little bit. And it's just adjusting and making sure everything looks correct. And once it starts to look correct, then I can be happy with it. A little bit more. Another highlight here, 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 and here. And you can see how the pen tool works. And I'm doing a bunch of clicking, and like you hold down the shift key and it changes. Like you can adjust here. Oh, see how obnoxious that could be. So you can adjust here, but then if you hold down the shift key, you can adjust how it goes. I have that all set up through my my pen and my mouse, so I try not to use the keyboard at all. But then see, since I drew it here, it's the very top part right here, and I want it behind this, which is down here, but in front of this, which is under that. So these are all new things that I've drawn that they all need to be assigned. They're in different spots, but they go to either one of these two groups. I'm just lazy. Like I said, I clean up my layers, and I don't know where that went. Clean up my layers later, usually near the end. And now I try to make it fit on top, right? So it's all kind of all together, and the pieces are together. And then I'll zoom out and I'll look, and does that fit? Does it work? Is it too much? Does it draw the eye too much? And I'll look away because I'm really good at procrastinating, and I'll watch TV a little while and then come back and look at it. This piece is bugging me, and this video is getting long, but at least it shows you my process. And I just come in here and play with everything and decide to see how to make it look right and better, and what can I do to make it fit, you know? And yeah, so you can see that. Circles are a little bit harder. I want to put a highlight right here. I actually made, where is that? I made a ring, so it's actually a physical ring, because this is actually just a sphere, or a circle, a full circle, but this is actually a ring. It's like a donut. And that's when I use Pathfinder to cut things out, and the whole process. So I want to remake that, and these are really close together. You have to select one, and then you can pull on it and drag it. So you can see there. And this is why sometimes things take a while, because it acts like that. And you say click, and it says like this, and you say no, not like that. It's a pain in the butt. So again, I'm probably a lot slower than a lot of people, but this is my process. And this is how I do it. And it's a lot of clicky, clicky, clicky. See how that's front, and that one needs to be behind. So they're like ribbons, essentially. They act like ribbons. So if you put one piece in front of another, it looks twisted like that. And I like that. Hopefully that shape will work, but I don't need the other side, so I cut it here and here, and then I use direct select to take that piece, and it should delete it, and then that's the only thing that's left. For whatever reason, there's more. And then I have just this, and I want it a lot lighter, but I'm not sure how light, so I need to play with that. And then I jump back out, and that's probably a little too much, but just to make it feel like it is correct, physically fitting in the space. And that might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. I might not use this piece at all, and I might just delete it, and that might just be enough. But you know, so shadow, a little bit of line tool, and a 30-minute video for you to watch. Fun. Thanks if you watch the whole thing. Click like and subscribe. Oh wait, I'm not. I will actually do streaming eventually, so if you watch to the end, wait for that, and maybe I'll let people watch me or hang out with me while I'm drawing. Or not, I don't know.